This is a little known fact, but the supplement industry in the US is not required to do any type of safety testing. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this is again one of the many reasons that I do harp on the supplement industry. And I've oftentimes said, while they do provide a few things of value like protein powder, occasional vitamins for people who have a deficiency, little minor things. And again, protein powder might not be a minor one, but by and large, it's a negative parasitic industry that preys on people and doesn't bring much of value to the table. Okay, it is again one of those industries that if it just went away, there probably wouldn't be any significant negatives to any of your lives unless you make your paycheck off of that industry. Okay, so when it comes to the safety testing, again, a lot of people are not aware of this, but the supplement industry has clauses that Congress and everything agreed to when they got all the Supplement Control Act signed, to where as long as they agree to pull stuff once it's proven to be unsafe, okay, and oftentimes they don't comply with this, that there's no safety testing. And again, they've generally made the argument that, well, most of the stuff that we sell is just natural herbal extracts and plants and, things like that. It's not necessarily drugs, and therefore our stuff doesn't produce as pronounced of effects, so we shouldn't be required to safety test. That it's kind of the FDA, because these are not controlled substances, which would also mean one of the reasons, like I've said in the other video, they're not allowed to make products that work, because those are drug-like effects. So those are all scams. They're not allowed to make things that help you burn fat or that build muscle and have anabolic effects. That's actually illegal. They can't do that. But accordingly, with a lot of that, it's like, well, since we're dealing with other stuff, it's kind of the FDA's job then to determine if it's safe or not. It shouldn't be on us. We don't have the budgets for that. Our margins aren't high enough. We're not a pharmaceutical industry. So accordingly, there's no safety testing. Okay? And in fact, a lot of times there's not even quality controls. And we'll come over to the safety testing in a minute of what they are allowed to get away with and what they aren't. But keep in mind, for years ago, remember when the Consumer Report stuff came out like 15 years ago, and I've always followed that even basic protein powders, because of there's lack of independent quality controls, and there's very little safety or quality controls in the supplement industry, that when they tested all the heavy metals in some of the popular brands of protein, only 1 in 3 of the companies passed. All the others, due to, again, cutting corners and stuff, manufacturing process literally had levels of arsenic and lead and things like that in them that were considered to be unsafe in general by FDA type guidelines. Okay, so we need to be aware that sort of thing has happened. We also have an industry with a long track record of spiking illegal drugs into their products to produce more pronounced effects that would keep people continuing to buy them. So again, there have been many, many documented cases of things like anabolic steroids being spiked into over-the-counter dietary supplements. Okay, in terms of even like fat burners, pre-workouts, things like that. There have been cases of methamphetamine and other analogs of it and various amphetamines. Even things like small doses of Adderall and stuff being included in those products off-label. And these companies have been caught with this, and they have a long track record of this as an industry. Okay? And there have been many cases to where certain products came out that exhibited anabolic or other drug side effects, and everyone's like, oh man, this stuff really works, it's really potent. Okay? And then all of a sudden, there shouldn't have been there, those side effects. And then all of a sudden, once they made lots of sales, those side effects went away and people got less results, but those products developed reputations. So keep that in mind. This is the nature of the industry. So when we look at this and say, well, they don't do safety testing, okay, but maybe they'll have ethics. But look at the ethics of that. And I mean, the case in point, there's at least one major person, even here on YouTube, runs an enormous company, lots of outreach, who talks about ethics. Yet they have produced products, in-house products that they know don't work, and even the evidence they produced of it showed that they know it doesn't work. Like it was a testosterone booster, And that person knows that test boosters not only don't work, they did an in-house study in the person and they tried to pass it off as real data, okay? The person, even after taking their test booster, still had clinically low testosterone and would qualify for TRT. So their product didn't even get him into the normal range of what would be an expected healthy person. Okay, and that was their in-house test. And again, passing this off as ethics. Passing this off as ethics, these same companies sold branched-chain amino acids, and then all the meta-analysis came out saying they don't work. They knew they didn't work. So again, cases of this is the ethical behavior of these companies, even the ones who their owners and CEOs are getting up on camera talking about their ethics, yet they're selling test boosters and doing in-house studies. And even if you look at the data, they didn't even get the people out of the low range. Like the person literally would have qualified for TRT after taking their test booster still had they just walked into a clinic. Okay? Same company pushed branched chain aminos, knowing they didn't work. So that's your ethical people. So if that's the sort of ethics that we're dealing with, what makes you think that they're going to say, well, okay, there's no safety testing, but if we suspect anything, we'll pull it off the shelf? No, because that's what the guidelines actually say. That if the FDA finds something to be unsafe, they have to tell them and they have to pull it. With the clause written, know that if they found evidence on their own, if they found evidence of this, then guess what? That they're expected to pull it preemptively. But they have to prove that they knew. And that's where it gets tricky. Okay? That's where it gets tricky. That is the leeway that these companies have on it. They can't sell a product that they had private knowledge of might have been unsafe before it was found to be unsafe. They're not required to actually test, so it's honor system. Unless there's an insider who busts it and has memos or whatever that the FDA gets, and then they're in trouble. But failing that, they don't have to pull a dangerous product off the shelf until the FDA comes and says, you know what? We found this causes cancer. We found this causes heart attack. We found you've got to pull it off the shelf. And then they have to pull it off the shelf. It gets recalled. Okay? But there's no safety testing, and this has happened numerous times, that various supplements have been found to be really high risk and dangerous that were sold for years and years and years. Okay. Over the counter. And because those companies are under no obligation and no knowledge, you can't even really sue them for it. So again, a word of caution, proceed with caution if you're going to buy these products.